Hi, my name is Simon Hedley, known to my clients and partners as a strategic alchemist and an ultimate connector. I'm a chartered accountant who brings together and bridges the worlds of business philosophy, finance, marketing, optimization, ontology, and so much more. Always focused on one thing, the simple idea that can make the difference to people and projects so we can tip the scales in their favor and get them complete. Pause, Stop, Reset is all about the three little words that can make the difference. They have for me and my clients, and I hope they will for you too. During the show, you'll get to learn about my guests' real-life experiences and the insights and lessons they've learned as they've navigated the resets in their personal and business lives, which you'll be able to leverage yourself. So let's start the show. So hello, I'm Simon Hedley, and welcome to Pause, Stop, Reset. Today I'm joined by Phil Barth. He and I connected. I really loved his range of experiences and perspectives. Now, I don't want to spoil the surprises, so without further ado, Phil, welcome to the show.
Simon, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, me too, and I can't wait to get into the meat and the juice of who you are. So let's start at the beginning. For people that may not know you yet or haven't kept up with your resets, who are you and what are you focused on today?
Okay, so my name is Phil Barth, as you mentioned. I am an author of a couple of books, the most important one being something called Great Things Happen Every Day. And it was kind of a labor of love. And we'll get into my story about the heart attack I had and things like that, I'm sure. But coming out of that heart attack, I wrote a book about the great things that were happening in life, because when you have a heart attack, there's not a lot of great things that are happening in the moment. You have to look for them. And so I did that. I am now working on a second book, which tackles the issue of stress management directly. And the tentative title is Keep Stress from Killing You, because it does kill people. I am also working on a keynote. I have an in-person one, COVID willing, in a little over a month. So I'm working on finishing touches of that. But what I'm really focused on today and really every day is just having fun. You know, life's too short to not have fun. So that's what I'm focused on, is let's enjoy the day.
And that's so important and so much of what drives me as well. I love how, by the way, you just dropped in you had a heart attack. We'll get on with that. But that humor a bit is what I really got from our first conversation was how much you have an interesting perspective, interesting gratitude. And I'm sure we're going to get into it as we go on through this interview today, into this podcast. If we look back on your life till now, what have been the biggest shifts and resets you've been through?
So that's where we get into the heart attack, right? In 2015, I was at summer camp with my son at a Boy Scout summer camp, and I started feeling bad. And a couple months before summer camp, I had met up with a friend of mine, and I said, "So, Tom, I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I had a heart attack." And he was about my age, and Tom and I were both maybe 10, 15 pounds overweight, but not bad. And so this really surprised me, because, early 50s, this isn't supposed to happen to folks who are in relatively okay shape. And so he told me about everything that led up to his heart attack and how he started feeling tired, and then some of the pains he was going through and all that. And as I'm at the summer camp, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm having the same things that Tom told me about, but I don't think this could possibly be a heart attack. Lightning can't strike twice on people our age. But in fact, it was. And on Thursday of that week, I went to the hospital, and they diagnosed me with a small heart attack. And I guess it felt big to me, but I guess a big heart attack kills you. You've got this artery called the widowmaker. I wasn't even aware of that, but that wasn't the artery that got blocked and caused my heart attack, thankfully, because it's called widowmaker for a reason. And when I talked to the doctors afterwards, this is where we got to the huge reset. Was they started telling me, you need to change your diet, and more importantly, you need to manage your stress. And I was a stress junkie, but they said, unless you want to come back here, and potentially in the next time could be the widowmaker, you need to manage your stress and completely. They didn't say reset, but it was a reset with how I looked at life and how I handled stress, and I would take on anything and just, oh, stress just serves me. And maybe it can, but I was on stress overload. My diet wasn't great either, but that was the big reset. And starting after the heart attack, as I recovered, I started changing my attitude and how I dealt with stress and how I looked at life.
Yeah, well, you've gone deep into that moment, and often we talk about the universe gives you a reset gently, or sort of the whack on the third eye. I think you had, thankfully, you're still with us, Phil, right? And that was how many years ago now? Was that heart attack?
That was 2015, so 5.5.
And this is after you've been on television. This is after some of your speaking stuff. And we'll get more into that as we go in. But I love how you're present to it. Like, it changed how you thought about everything, and you had to, and was encouraged to, and you didn't have to, but you chose to change the diet, change that stress reaction. And that's a lot of what this is about. It's learning how to, as we say, pause, stop, and reset in those moments. So we get to live our lives, not get lived by them. And I'm curious, of those three, which one do you think's hardest? Do you find it easy to pause, to stop? Often those sort of stress junkies like to carry on going and can't stop themselves. What's hardest for you, and why do you think that is?
So, excuse me, for me, it's stop, because it's physics. A body in motion tends to stay in motion, and I know that I need to stop. This is back in 2015, 2014, whatever. I know that I need to stop eating so much salt. I know I need to stop eating so much sugar. I know I need to stop drinking bulletproof coffee, which was coffee with butter and coconut oil and a ton of saturated fat. And I know all of those things, but I don't stop because there isn't the reason. The reset for me was difficult to go through, but it was a matter of survival. I had to do it. And for me, you don't have to do resets that often, but when you have to do it and when it's forced upon you, and to me, a reset is just a complete change of what you're doing. And if it's that or die, I can do the reset. The stop for me is, I could do that, but I don't have that compelling reason. And pause, I pause all the time and take a break. And so that isn't as difficult. But for me, it's the stop.
I love that self-awareness there. And often it is. And one of the challenges, so much of life is busy, right? We're hyper-connected now. There's always something else to do, another podcast to listen to, another book to write. And actually giving ourselves that space to stop allows the reset. Often we're trying to move house while we're moving things simultaneously. We're trying to do everything at the same time. And that can be really challenging. Had you already started your sort of talking stuff, your speaking stuff before the heart attack, or will that come afterwards?
I had started it before the heart attack. In fact, I was supposed to speak in the Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking the next week after the heart attack. I was supposed to go to Las Vegas and compete. I had competed 4 years prior in 2011, and I finished in the top 10 worldwide. So I was looking forward to going back and hopefully winning the whole thing, but the heart attack kind of changed that idea. I had done a couple of keynotes before then. I have done more because frankly, if there was an upside to a heart attack, it's given me a more compelling story about how to handle stress. And so I do keynotes on that, but I had started speaking before then.
I love it. And I love that you're still doing it. And this is part of what we're doing here. If you're listening in, hopefully it can inspire you to get out there and listen differently, speak differently, and choose different paths. And I'm curious, I love this question. What's the most important lesson you wish you could give your younger self, and why is that the lesson?
So there's two of them. The first one is a quote, and I believe it's Gary Vaynerchuk, that Gary V, as he's known, came up with. Somebody asked him, tell me something that'll motivate me. And he said, instead of the normal rah-rah stuff, he said, you are going to die. You've heard it, right?
I've seen the video. I've met Gary. Yep. And it's the kind of good news, bad news. And I don't mean to interrupt you, Phil, but yeah, it's the good news, bad news, Memento Mori, you're going to die. It's okay.
I love that. And that's the lesson. When you're younger, you think, I'm going to last forever. I can do it all. It forces you to focus. It forces you to say what is really important. And as you get older, you start to come square with that reality. But I'd like to go back to my 30-year-old self and say, you are going to die. That's the first one. There is a second one, and this one's from Brene Brown. I love watching her TED Talks, read some of her books. And she tells a story of going home and talking to her husband and saying, this person's a jerk and that person's a jerk. And her husband stopped her and he said, let me ask you, do you think that those people are doing the best they can? And she said, I hated it. It stopped me in my tracks, because when I thought about it, they probably are doing the best that they can, and they're doing what they think is right. And so you take on a lot of stress thinking about, this moron is trying to ruin my day. This idiot cut me off in traffic just to irritate me. And that's not the case. If you start and think, this person is probably doing the best that they can, and they made a mistake in my mind, or they're doing something different that I wouldn't do, but they're doing the best I can, that forces you to change the way you look at everyone. And I would like to go back and tell my 30-year-old self, hey, people are doing the best they can, so cut them some slack.
I like that. I'm actually being with an earlier conversation. We were trying to reach out to a company to do some business with them. And simple question like, what does it cost? And the sales guy wouldn't tell us. It's like, let's have a conversation. Like, no, just what are the price ranges? So reminding, and I think the challenge is sometimes people may not be doing the best they could, but they're doing what they're doing from their perspective. I don't think anybody wakes up trying to be evil. It's like, how can I be the worst person I can be today? I think everybody's sort of doing the things they're doing based on their experiences. And sometimes it is fascinating, and especially as you get older and, not say wiser, but differently perspectived, you do look and go, why is that person doing that? This makes no sense, including our younger selves, right? You look back at life and go, what was that about? Hopefully in a good way.
Yep.
And for me, I've got a lot of those insights have come from reading books and watching movies. And I was curious whether books and movies have helped you pause, stop, and reset, and how those movies have impacted you.
Yeah. So in terms of a book, besides mine, of course, one of my favorite books, nonfiction, is by a guy named David Allen, Getting Things Done. And it talks about, and one of the questions he asked that I just ask myself all the time is, in this moment, am I doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing? And if you can answer yes to that question, then you don't need to worry about all the other things, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You capture all the other things, and he's got a great system for doing it. But Getting Things Done has really helped me kind of be in the moment and not drop all the other loose ends. For a fiction book, it would be The Alchemist. And it's just a story about a young man who follows his dream, and the way it's written is just beautiful. And then you mentioned movies, and a recent pause I had was I walked into a room and my wife was watching Father Goose with Cary Grant on Turner Classic Movies, and I looked at it and I said, it just made me pause. I said, I have seen this movie before. I don't know much about it. And then I realized it was when I was very young, and it was on television, and I was watching it with my mom and dad. And it just brought back this wonderful memory of sitting with my family and watching a movie. I love the movie. Cary Grant is just awesome and hilarious. But it could have been any movie that I had seen back, 40 years ago, 50 years ago with my parents, and just taking me back to that moment. It was a wonderful pause.
I love it. I'm not one I know. I not know at all, actually. And it is, we've been commenting in our Strategic Alchemy group lately, how much we miss those old movies, a different quality to them. Yes, less CGI, less action, but there was something, you come out of the movie feeling refreshed differently than often you do with modern movies. I will say, on the Getting Things Done approach, some of those books helped us inspire and build the I Prioritize app on the App Store. And if you love The Alchemist, there's a great game called Journey, which is now on the Apple platform and Sony platforms, which is very much, I think, inspired by Journey and The Alchemist and that Paolo, how do you say his surname? Paolo Cialo? Apologize for my bad pronunciation. But
I don't know how to pronounce it. That's why I just said the book.
The Alchemist. Yeah, no, it's an amazing series of books. And for those who know my journey, it's been very like that at times, and actually helped inspire us with my own little title that I use often in the world of businesses. Now, I love that you can acknowledge and see that it's in that moment of remembering back 40 years ago. And as you get older, you may find yourself remembering things and going, oh yeah. And in that moment, reflecting and seeing things differently. That's the beauty of pausing, stopping, and resetting. And hopefully today sparking some conversations for you on the inner and the outer. Now, we have touched on, that the most challenging reset moment for you was the heart attack, Phil. And I'm just curious what helped you through that. How did you navigate it? Because often in the middle of it, it's like the dark night of the soul. How do I survive this? Especially the challenging ones. Well, what got you through? How did you sort of come on the upside of the reset and that heart attack?
It was, I got to give the credit to my wife and my sons and friends, parents. They kind of helped pull me through, and you need to use your network in those dark moments, because it was a small heart attack and there was never a concern with this is going to kill me, this particular heart attack anyway. But there was almost a year of recovery, and they warned me this would happen. And so my wife said, come on, we're going to go for a walk. I don't want to walk. No, we got to start walking. We got to start doing the things that you need to do. We get out there and I would start walking. I said, okay, well, we're going to walk a mile. No, that's not how far you're supposed to walk. That will set you back. And so she kind of kicked me in the butt when I needed it. At the time, my sons were, I believe, 19, 16, and 13. And so, they had all the things that go on with teenagers, and you feel like you're always got to kick them in the butt or whatever for different reasons. And my wife was kicking me, but all of a sudden they rallied around Dad, and they were, let me help you. Let me do this. Let me do that. And so there was just, you could see the family and friends too, and kind of rallying around and helping me through what could have been a very dark moment in my life.
I love that. And let's give her a shout out. What's your wife's name, Phil?
My wife's name is Beth.
Well, Beth, if you're listening, thank you for doing what you've done to get Phil where he is. And I'm sure a lot more than we will never hear about, but it is those people, those family that have our backs, right?
Yeah. So my wife's married name is Beth Barth, which that's how you know she married me for love.
See, the humor of Phil is definitely a quirky factor. And but it's important, right? I think having that laughing bit is so much of what gets us through. And in a world that's so metaverse connected, to sort of use the in language, it's very easy to forget that. We've just gone through Christmas and New Year, and in theory we should all be happy and laughing, but everybody's really stressed out, partly COVID, partly other things that are going on. But I think there's a bigger shift into this question of what's important and what's valuable. And I think many people are looking to shift, what they're going to do next. And we'll touch a little bit later on, Phil, what you've done over some of the fun and game stuff you've been around. But I'm just curious, like for people listening that want to make a shift for what's possible for them, whether it's personal lives and business lives, what are your biggest suggestions?
Hey, take some time, pause, if you will, to appreciate what's good in your life. And Simon, you mentioned something. You mentioned COVID, and COVID is just, it's been awful for a lot of people. I understand that. And I was just talking to my wife yesterday, because we're scheduling a series of Zoom meetings. And I said, I am really getting a little burned out on Zoom. But if I pause and I think about it, okay, thanks to Zoom, you and I are having a conversation. I don't have to fly across the ocean to see you or vice versa. And I have been able to connect with people all around the globe and have really interesting conversations, meet interesting people. And had COVID not forced the issue, I don't think that would be happening right now. So even in what is a very bad time in terms of a pandemic, there are some good things coming out of it. And then if you take it one level up, just in general, life is very good. And so you just appreciate what's good about life. And it can be a sunrise, a sunset. It can be a banana milkshake, which is that's the subtitle of my book, Friends, Family, and Banana Milkshakes, right? So you cut up a banana or a frozen banana, you drop it in a blender with some milk and some frozen yogurt, vanilla frozen yogurt. You turn on the blender for 15 seconds, and there you got a banana milkshake. And people, you share it with your family, and it's just a wonderful time. And it's real simple. And my dogs are going nuts in the background. I apologize.
They've heard the magic phrase. They're going, "Where's mine? I want a milkshake." I used to love banana milkshakes. happy memories maybe being sparked for you. And again, if you're allergic to milk and lactose, there are other things you can do with supersimonsmoothies.com, he says. No, but joking aside, it's something about that. And often in the darkest times, good can come out, but it's sort of keep going. And at the same time, learning how to find the time to actually reflect and reset on it. There's a great book on Seth Godin's The Dip, and this question of when to keep plodding and when to go, you know what, let's just take the input from the universe and try a different route. And right. I know what you mean. It is, I wouldn't be doing this. The last year has impacted what I was doing, what I can do, what I want to do. And I'm sure for many other people too. So I do appreciate that. Now, before we carry on, I wanted to sort of give you a chance, if I don't really do this, but because you've been on like the Millionaire TV show. Let's talk about that for a second. So what happened on the TV show?
I have. That goes back, 2002 was when we recorded it. It played in 2003. So the backstory there is in, I think 1999 was when the show came on TV. And I turned on the first episode and I said, this show is really cool. And it's multiple choice. It's not like Jeopardy where you actually have to know it and then phrase it in the form of a question. You have a multiple choice question here and there's some real money. And gosh, wouldn't it be cool if I could be on that someday? And then at the end of the show, they put up this graphic that said, would you like to be on the show? Just call this number. And so I started calling and I started answering the questions, the automated questions, and I never got on, but I didn't let it go. I kept trying. And the other thing I did was I told everybody that I knew, hey, I want to be on the show. So I kind of was writing a check that I didn't want to give up and say I couldn't cash it later. Right. So I kept trying. I auditioned in 3 different cities. And on the third audition, I got a card back that said, hey, you're in the contestant pool. And so from that time, which was July of the year till November, when we went and recorded the show, my wife I had trivia questions. And when we would drive, she would ask me trivia questions from a Trivial Pursuit game, or I had little electronic games that were in the bathroom. And, I don't want to go into too much detail there, but a constant studying, because they'll ask you anything. So all I had to do was know everything. And because you never know, right? And it turned out I won $32,000 on the show. And the question for $32,000 happened to be one of the ones that was on my electronic game. And so just out of sheer luck and hard work on the studying, I got an extra $16,000 because, it doubles all the way up. So it was, I like to say, there's a fine line between passion and obsession. And this was an obsession, but obsessions pay. And it paid off in real money. It paid off in me learning that if I have a goal and I stick to it and I really pursue it, you can hit it. And so it was a great life lesson. But, a check for $32,000 didn't hurt either.
And the show is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? That's the show we're talking about. Yeah.
Right.
And so firstly, Phil has learned to speak passionately about many subjects. And as I said, surprises for you, because you wouldn't know if I met you in the grocery store that you'd had the heart attack, been on television, was it one of the top 10 Toastmaster speakers in the world? Is that right?
Correct.
These are quite impressive things. And I'm clear for many people listening in, they might be going, okay, I remember the conversation, Phil's lovely. What's one takeaway you really want them to be left with from listening with you today? So
I'm going to steal Nike's slogan, and then I'm going to put my own spin on it. But they sell a lot of shoes, and they don't sell them because their slogan is just plan it, just worry about what could go wrong with it, just whatever. It's just do it. And for my take on that, when we're talking projects or whatever, I say, look, go west. Let's just pretend that I'm sitting here in Ohio and I want to go to the Los Angeles, California. That is west of here. We could plan it and we could plan it and we could plan it and the route we're going to go, or we could get in the car and start moving and going west. And that's what I did with Millionaire. I started auditioning and so you check and adjust, but you start moving and there's such a benefit to taking action and just moving and seeing some sort of progress. And the other thing I would say is we live in an incredible time. So my sons decided they're in a heavy metal band with 3 other musicians, and they decided that they wanted to do an EP album, extended play with 5 songs. So they did it. You can do that now. You know, if you saw the movie, I'm flaking on the Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, when they wanted to do an album, they had to sell their transportation that was taking them to all the clubs. They had to sell their van to get studio time and to do their album. With my sons, they had to open up their MacBook and launch GarageBand, do all the recording. Was it a lot of work? Absolutely. Were they able to do it without having to sacrifice their mode of transportation? They sure were. And they have over 100,000 listens now on the various streaming platforms, Apple and Apple's the one I use. They've got another one they use. Spotify is the other one I know of, and probably a couple others. Over 100,000 listens to those 5 songs, and it's global. For some reason, their music is popular in Indonesia. They get a lot of listens out of there, and it's just an incredible time we live in. You want to do a TV show, you want to do a movie, do it. Put it on YouTube. You want to record, you want to write a book, do it. You can self-publish, no problem. I mean, is it a lot of work? Like I said, absolutely. But just start doing it. If you've got a dream, start moving toward it today. You've got the ability, you've got and we've got the technology. You've got no excuses.
Love it. The motivation coming out here, and hopefully we don't have to have the bad experiences to drive us forward, but that Gary Vee reminder, you know, the good news, well, you're going to X, you're going to die. Not to worry you, but it's a challenge to actually sit there and go, let's get started and take that action. You never know what happens. That small step opens things up. So we're going to wrap up in just a minute, Phil. I'm just really curious if you know any amazing guests that you'd love to be answering and sharing their questions. Do get in touch with us. Maybe, Phil, maybe you have somebody in mind that you think would be a great guest. Anybody that comes to mind? You'd love to hear what they've been through and how they pull, stop, reset? I'll
tell you who I'd love to see you interview. I don't know how you get him, but Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. He is just amazing to listen to, and it's not because of who he is now or where he is now, but it's the how he got there. Right? He wrote this book. He wrote a book, The 4-Hour Work Week, and people were like, "Well, yeah, he had a cool hook, and it was a neat title, 4-Hour Work Week. Of course, he was going to be successful." But the reality is, he had to pitch that 100 different ways before somebody finally took a chance on it. And so I think he would have a great concept. Now he's a really big, podcaster himself, but I always find what he says interesting, and to take it down, to allow anybody who's been through that, anybody who's been through the struggle and come out the other end and said, you know what, through perseverance, through hard work, through not giving up on my dream, I hit it. Whether it's a best-selling book or just the book I published, or an appearance on a TV game show. I love hearing those stories.
Me too. And Tim would be a great guest. It's interesting. When I was in my 20s, there was like sort of the dream 100s, right? Like, who would you love to have in your top 10 teams? And people like, the names we could rattle off, I'm sure you can imagine some of them, you never think you're going to meet. And I remember meeting MC Hammer 3 times in 2 days in New York. First time was like, it's amazing. Well, it was, but it was weird. The first time was like, this is amazing. Second time was like, cool. By the third time, it was a bit embarrassing. It's like, yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to bump into you again. And it's also getting ready. So no, but joking aside, so one of the best interviews out there, I think, is Tim and Gary talking about stuff very real. And the truth of it is, they're all human beings. They're all people. One I loved about Tim, he won a martial art competition. I was also a martial artist, but he won it with a beginner push. He learned how to not hack, but how to be very clear what the goal he was and go after that. And I think the challenge with the 4-Hour Work Week is we joke about the 4-day work year. You can do a year's work in a day if you're really focused and you learn how to apply yourself. The same with doing podcasts and talking. And I think Tim's a really interesting character that the world knows a sliver of, but most haven't understood how far he's gone in learning about biology and people and mindset and a lot more than that. And My little nerves going, I couldn't interview Tim, but no, I'd love to. And equally for us, if you're out there, have a way to have Tim go through these questions, please feel to do that. I'm sure Phil would love to interview Tim for us even. Would that be okay with you, Phil, if that happens?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be way cool.
And that's my thing. I've really let go of the ego, my own health challenges, and you've been some too. I think it gives you a perspective where you're less worried about yourself than we are as our younger selves. You know, it's like there's more to life than us having more chocolate cakes, even though they are very good. I miss chocolate cakes. Anyway, so for people that want to learn more about you and what you do, Phil, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Those are my two favorite social media platforms. And on the web, I have a blog that also has links to my speaking programs, philbarthspeaks.com. And the books are at philbarthbooks.com, which will will refer you over to Amazon for the books. But I could say go to Amazon, search here, search there, or I could just say go to philbarthbooks.com.
And Phil, Phil, Barth, Barth. It'll be in the podcast portal at pause.reset.com. And with that, I want to thank you for being with us on the show today, Phil. I really enjoy your time. I love your humor. I love your energy. That's the biggest thing I got from our previous conversations and today. And as much as it's sort of bad news, good news, that reminder, as Gary said, that, we are going to die, and motivate you for that, but not get nihilistic about it. And that the quote of Brené's that you shared, Brené Brown's, about that people are doing their best and we are all human. It's a key reminder, I think. We all do our best moment by moment. And that's why if you're finding yourself about something really stupid, just pause, just go, I'm going to count to 10 because you can't often take things back. But linked to that, when you are clear about a goal you're going after, as Phil says, go for it, just do it, get started. And as the magic unfolds, we'll see what happened in the world, in this wonderful, rippling, glittered world we're in. And it is time for us in a minute to sort of pause, stop, reset, and wrap up. Anything you want to add, Phil, before you wrap up the show?
Thank you for having me on. I enjoy talking to people, and I always think the best podcasts are where two people just sit down and have a nice free-flowing conversation, which is what we did here. Simon, thank you for what you do and for having me today.
And we're just starting. So my hope is Phil and I will talk again. We have lots of stuff going on in various formats, phone, web, and world. And if you want to catch up with other podcasts, go to Apple Podcasts, find Pause, Stop, Reset, subscribe, give us 5 stars. And what I really love is, what did you hear that Phil shared today that's inspiring you, take some action on? Drop us a comment, because that's how we can go back to our speakers and listeners, and we can all learn and grow. And if you want some more resources, more bonuses, head to pause.reset.com/podcast, and you'll find lots more resources there in the portal. I will see you next time. And Phil, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Simon.
Once again, I'm Simon Hedley. Thank you for listening to this episode of Pause, Stop, Reset, which is brought to you by the team at simonx.com and published by thesimpleidea.com. So you get maximum value, and to access all the bonuses and gifts, make sure to head to pause.reset.com, register and explore the portal. And if you're looking for great people, check out onesmartnetwork.com. If you've enjoyed the show, do give us a positive review, subscribe, and share this episode with friends. I can't wait to share our next episode with you. Till then, remember, you can always choose to pause, stop, reset.